What was the most successful prank you've ever pulled? When I was 13 I told my mom my alarm stopped working and asked her to wake me up in the morning. So I stayed up until she went to bed and snuck downstairs. I took a jar of Vaseline and put the Vaseline on my doorknob and went to sleep. The next morning my mom woke me up by screaming, "What the F? WHO does something like that." My friends and I rearranged my college roommate's room and covered absolutely everything in tinfoil. He was just getting back from a trip and rolled in with his suitcase. He is overly dramatic and thus a great victim. We were watching TV when he goes to his room and I hear on my good. He huffs out and says the most dad comment ever. "Why would you do this? If this isn't cleaned up by the time I get back from work." He goes to work. We tinfoiled his suitcase. In the army the duties rotated. When it was my turn to clean the toilets I had prepared some chocolate pudding. I scrubbed the toilet seats exceptionally clean, then left a thin but clearly visible brown line of the pudding on one of the seats. During inspection the lieutenant saw it and yelled for the person responsible for the bathroom that day. I raised my hand and followed him into the stall with the dirty seat. "What's this?" he said. I dipped my finger in the pudding, smelled it, then slowly licked my finger as if I was tasting it, and said, "It's poo but I don't know whose." This is where I usually stop when I tell this story. The lieutenant was a hilarious guy. After a few intense seconds he cracked up and started laughing. Then simply told me to clean it in case his commanding officer would drop by. I had heard about this prank somewhere before, but I can't remember from where. But at least I did it myself. Or I set up a fake email address for the Narwhal Appreciation Society and sent a coworker an email from the address saying, "We at the Narwhal Appreciation Society have been informed that you, too, have an affinity for this majestic creature and we wanted to see if you would like to join our society." He responded with "Thanks for the email. Not sure who referred me but I don't have any interest at joining your society. Good luck." A couple of weeks later, I emailed him again and listed off the membership dues for the society and upcoming events. He responded with once again, "Please note that I am not interested. Please take me off your distribution list." A few weeks later, I emailed him a note that his membership dues were in arrears, commenting that the faithful narwhal would most assuredly pay its bills if it used currency. I emailed him roughly 2-3x per year for 3-4 years. For the first year, when we still worked together, I'd see him open the email, shake his head and say aloud, "Not these ducking guys again," but he never attempted to block the email address. He responded to some, becoming increasingly agitated, and ignored others. In one response, he attached pictures of dead narwhals that had been killed by Inuit hunters and said, "This is what I think of your stupid narwhal. I hate them. I wish them all dead." I eventually stopped and never mentioned to him that it was me, but years later, a few ex-co-workers were out for pints and one guy said to me, "Whatever happened with that narwhal you were doing?" And my pranked co-worker's eyes bugged out of his head. "That was you." I work at a wastewater treatment plant. We employ cameras to monitor things in the field that we need eyes on at all times. One of these cameras is pointed at the bed of a tractor trailer that is used to haul biosolids to the landfill. The video feed is a constant stream of dewatered sludge falling into the trailer. When one section is full, an operator has to go move the trailer so the solids don't spill out all over the place and make a mess. One year for April Fools I used the old Control plus Alt plus up arrow to turn the camera feed upside down like 10 minutes before my shift was over. The person taking over for me was much older and much less tech savvy. When he noticed the sludge falling up instead of down he lost his mind. The next day I got scolded by my boss because my co-worker had a panic attack and then contacted the after hours emergency tech support line to fix the cameras. Fun police strike again. A buddy of mine from high school went by the nickname TD. One day, my brother asked me what TD stands for. So I'll look at him like he's an idiot and say Tyrone Draconus. Duh. This name came out of nowhere. I had no intentions before that moment of deceiving him. So I nonchalantly go back to whatever I was doing. Brother freaks out saying that's the best name ever and is so excited he can't wait to surprise TD with knowing his name at school tomorrow. Thing is, TD stands for Theodore David. I get to school about 30 minutes before my brother and start explaining to everyone the situation. And to go along with it, even TD is on board. So, from end of August until early mid-May, every time my brother sees TD in the halls he shouts Teruun Draconus. At one point another classmate of mine tried to correct him, but she had a bad reputation with me, bullied me when we first moved there, so naturally he didn't believe her. Then came graduation day when my mom spoiled it. Yes, my parents were in on it too. Brother didn't want to attend commencement, and as a bargaining tool she said, "Don't you want to hear TD's name announced?" several times. After a couple hours of that, brother comes up to me and asks, "TD's name isn't really Tyrone Draconus, is it?" I proceed to blow his mind with this elaborate ruse that spawned from one spontaneous moment several months prior. Edit, or to correct, ruined the first instance of the fake name. 1998, I was in 4th grade and got my hands on a universal remote watch. At the time it was super high tech and nobody had heard of such a thing. I would sneakily turn the classroom TV on every 5 minutes. The teacher, who I despised, was convinced that ghosts were in the room. She unplugged it after the 3rd or 4th time. After seeing the movie Poltergeist, I thought it would be funny to put all the chairs up on the table stacked all weird and then open all the cabinets in the middle of the night. I thought it would be harmless and my parents would get a laugh out of it. Nope. They believed, 1000%, that it was a ghost we had in the house, and it didn't even matter that I told them the truth. They choose to believe it was the ghost. I'm not sure why, but I think they really wanted to be haunted or something. Update. I know all of you think my parents were pranking me back, and I wish my parents were like that, but my mother is convinced, as well as my grandmother, that they're both sensitive to these things, and my stepfather is a binge watching ghost hunting show fanatic. Anytime something goes wrong in their lives, they're so sure it's the cause of bad spirits and cleanse the house with sage and it's littered with protective crystals. Neither one of them seem capable of playing a prank for this long, as it's been almost a decade and they seem so dedicated to the idea of them being haunted. So much so that they bought my lil bro, now 9 years old, a pendulum necklace that's supposed to locate spirits in the house. I once asked them if they ought to just go to church if they thought a bad spirit was attached to them, and my mom straight up laughed and said it was bigger than God. I've been waiting to tell this story for a decade on Reddit, as it was the highlight of my high school years. I managed to convince my sister's 9th grade science teacher she was an amateur arsonist almost by accident. I had a study hall with Mr. D the semester before, and one day as I'm sitting in the class near the back, he wanders by and says, "I have your sister in my class next semester. Anything I should know?" Just trying to make conversation with a student whose younger sibling was newly 9th grade. I don't know where it came from, but I jokingly told him, "Look, whatever you heard, it was completely blown out of proportion. No charges were ever filed, and besides, there haven't been any incidents in a couple of months, and besides some smoke damage, there's been no loss of property. Maybe just don't sit her near the waste paper just to be safe." Just pulling Mr. D's leg basically. I forgot about that exchange until the parent-teacher night the next semester, when my mother came back and asked me what I told my sister's science teacher. Apparently I played the defensive older brother act a little too well, and he spent the first 3 weeks of that semester with my sister under close scrutiny, and he had to ask my mum about the validity of my claims. I only found out this past holiday when I was retelling the story, but my sister inadvertently helped the joke along that first week she was in science. They were lighting Bunsen burners and Mr. D asked if anyone knew how to use matches. Given we grew up with wood heat and camping, it should come as no surprise that my sister's hand shot up.